Woman's Word, Royal Seed of a Slave. This is a message to my Black sisters. It's honestly something that the Lord just gave me as I was running the trail. I said in the last word from today, holy and holy, that I was about to go run, and that it was a good time to meditate on, who you are, and just to learn more about yourself, and to just spend time with God and spend time thinking on, you and all of that. And that's what I do when I'm running. And I was, as I was running, it was just beautiful because the Lord was speaking to me, and something inside of me was just rising up and encouraging me. And so I was just hearing these wonderful voices of encouragement. I'm hearing the Lord speaking encouragement to me, and then something inside of me was just pushing me to keep going, because I was tired and all of that. But I kept pushing, I kept pressing, and I kept running, and I ran more, I think, than I walked, which is unusual for me because usually I walk more than I run. But I think I ran more this time just because of that push. But as that was happening, there were also negative voices that were coming, discouragements, and, you should stop, you should give up, it doesn't even matter, blah, blah, blah. I mean, that was coming too. And at that moment, I started to recognize it as the voice of the enemy. We hear voices all the time, voices that encourage us and voices that discourage us, in our heads usually. And sometimes they're outside of us. Sometimes they're from people around us. But when we hear them inside, we've got to recognize that those discouraging voices aren't always just self-doubt. Sometimes it's suggestions from the enemy. And that's what was happening to me. The suggestions of the enemy were coming, and I was casting them down. And I began, that voice that was inside me encouraging me, that voice got righteously indignant with the voice of the enemy that was speaking in my mind of what I can't do and how I should quit and all of that. As that happened, that indignation started to rise up in me, of the voice within me, which is just, my spirit, the spirit of the living God within me, started to just speak of who I am and from whom I come, and the fact that there are those who fought and died and persevered and cried out to God and prayed that I would be able to run a trail, that I would have the freedom. I mean, I have freedom politically, in that I live in a nation where I can get up in the morning, put on the sneakers I purchased, go out to a trail where there's all types of people running it, walking it, just enjoying themselves, and I can challenge myself and push myself to the max, and there's no limits around me, at least politically speaking, that keep me from doing that. And I'm able to have a business and have a ministry and things that people in my actual family, my immediate family, pressed forward, but there were things set up against them. I'm not the first entrepreneur in my family. My grandfather was an entrepreneur, his mother was an entrepreneur, and her mother was an entrepreneur. But they could only do but so much because there was so much stacked against them that, they weren't allowed to do this, and people wouldn't finance that, and you couldn't get help here, and this group would come against you, and this illegal organization would try to stop you, and I mean all types of stuff. People commandeer your land and burn up this and take that. These are the things that the people who came before me had to endure. And I'm just speaking this to the enemy, and it's like, I am able to do this. I am free to challenge myself, to improve myself, to improve my life. I am free to worship my God in my home or even outside of my home. And people who came before me died that I would have that freedom. And I just began to speak that to the enemy, just continuing to speak that. And it was just reminding me of who I am, a royal seed, but of a slave. God just ordained me to be a royal priesthood, a royal priest in a royal priesthood. But those who came before me suffered lack and chains and bondage and death, murder, persecution, slavery, rapes, things like that, and over again. I'm not talking about one time, because we experience stuff in our lives even now, but these are isolated incidents. I'm talking about this was their daily life. And so I'm thinking to myself, even when I leave here today, I'm going to get a healthy lunch. I did. I went to chocolate smoothie and I got the veggie wrap and one of the berry smoothies with the boost in it. And it's got, all types of vitamins and stuff. And some smoothie I'm still drinking. But it's like I have the freedom to make healthy choices. Slaves didn't have that freedom. They got the greens that were already going bad, and they got the fat of the pig that nobody wanted to eat, and the chitterlings or chitlins, because nobody wanted to eat that. It was full of pig poop, and they got the pig feet, and they got, that's why we eat stuff like that, because it was given to the slaves, because the people in the big house didn't want to eat that. So they gave it to the slaves, and the greens were so nasty and rotten that they had to put the pig fat into it so that the greens would taste good, and we still cook like that in a terribly unhealthy way. And I don't have to do that. I can eat fresh vegetables. I don't have to eat stuff like that and put it into my body and die early and have high cholesterol and things like that. The Lord has brought me to a place where there are freedoms all around me, that he himself put it in the hearts of others that they will fight, persevere, and die for. And who am I to forsake those freedoms? Who am I to take advantage of those things, or disregard them as if they are nothing, when they came on the back of someone else who could not have them and could only foresee me in the future being able to enjoy what they were fighting for? You have got to know who you are. When our ancestors came, when our Black ancestors, I'm multi-ethnic, we'll actually talk about the other ethnicities in following videos. But when my African ancestors and your African ancestors came and were brought to, were drugged to, were kidnapped and enslaved and brought to this continent, and South America also, and the islands also, when that happened, there have been previous people used as slaves. Africans weren't the first choice. There were whites were the first slaves. There would have been the lower class whites from Europe were the first slaves, and they couldn't hack it. They were all dying. I mean, terrible disease, fatigue. It just wasn't working. The next group that they tried to enslave were Native Americans, and that didn't work for multiple reasons. First, because this was native territory, so they could, when they got away, they really got away. It was home court advantage. But then there was also the diseases of the Europeans when connected with the native peoples were killing them like in multitudes. So that didn't work either. The interaction with the natives and the Europeans, it couldn't last too long, because the Europeans brought all types of diseases that the natives weren't used to, and it just didn't work with the native system. And then when the Europeans realized that, which is another video, they started to use those diseases as germ warfare to take out whole groups of native peoples. But this stopped the native slavery. That, and the fact that, of course, the home court advantage, the Europeans really could not subdue the people enough to keep them enslaved in their own land. So they brought a people from another land, took them away from those who they knew, who had the same language, so there couldn't be any coups or anything like that, mixed them with people from other tribes and nations so that they would have different languages and no one could really communicate with each other. Put them, of course, in a foreign place, then enslaved them in horrible heat, horrible conditions, very little food, or poor standard food. That's what I'm telling you about. But our ancestors, Black people, were the only ones who were able to survive that type of treatment. There was nobody else who could handle that. Everybody else put in those same circumstances was dying. It was not working. So while we look at our slave history and we see it as this terrible mark on us, like, man, we were the group that was enslaved, very honestly, the blessing is to know that there was a strength in us to be able to handle something that nobody else could handle. And that strength is still there. It is still in the Black man, and it is especially still there in the Black woman. I want to give you an actual medical fact. My daughter, she's 16 now. That's actually her in the picture right there. She's 16 now. But when she was born almost 3 months early. I was in my 28th week gestation. So I was entering into the 7th month. I was kind of right at the end of the 6th month. So she was almost 3 months early when she was born. And when she came, she was exactly 2 pounds. I had preeclampsia. They had to do emergency C-section, 2 pounds, 0 ounces. When she was born, the nurses of the neonatal unit told me that they were so glad that she was a girl. And I said, why? In the name of Yeshua. It went down for just a minute. See, the enemy is mad. He's mad. He doesn't want you guys to hear this. I'm so glad it came back up. But I'm going to tell you, you get life in you. You get the word of God in you. You might have to listen to some Maya Angelou poetry or something like that. Bless her soul. Because she understood that strength of a black woman. And then you feed yourself good things, whether it's good foods, whether you spend your time wisely, you're reading good things, you're educating yourself. You take advantage of the education that those who came before us could not take advantage of, that they were prohibited by law from participating in. It was illegal for black people to learn how to read for years, for centuries. It was illegal. You be sure you rock that thing. Get your degree. Learn what you need to learn for the purpose of a career, not just to get knowledge for knowledge's sake. Because some people are self-taught. They don't even have to have a degree. But if you're going to go to school, you rock it. You do well. Be on the dean's list. I'm telling you, be the head of your class. Get awards and certifications. Do what you need to do, that what's inside of you will come out and be useful and helpful to everybody else. Because somebody paid for that. Somebody prayed for that. Let us not take it for granted. Let us not sit back in depression and self-abnegation. That means to negate myself and everybody else is more important to me. Let us not sit back and sloth and laziness, even in sickness. I'm telling you, what is inside of you spiritually, emotionally, and physically is stronger than what's inside of every other human on the planet, because the black woman, I just told you, medically is proven, is most likely to survive. You make sure you tap into that within your spirit. You pull it up, you apply it to every area of your life. Wherever the enemy is trying to kill you, wherever he's trying to speak bad of you, wherever he's trying to discourage you, you apply that survival that God instilled in us, because he needed us to make it. He needed black women to make it for a whole ethnic group to survive, because there's something we bring to the earth. There is a beauty. There is art. There is love. There is passion, as you can see, that we bring to this earth that nobody else brings. There's a nurturing of the black mother that we bring to this earth that nobody else brings. I love it because Paul actually talks about this black woman in the Bible, the mother of Rufus, and he said she was a mother to me also. Rufus was African. That means that was a black mother mothering on Paul in the Bible, and he was loving on her because she was probably cooking him up some food, praying for him, blessing him, hugging him with her big old arms. You know how that works. And just receiving that love while he was out on his journeys, he was able to find a home among somebody. And that's what we do. We welcome people in. We love on people no matter who they are, no matter where they come from. I don't care if those are your kids. I'm going to love them too. I don't care what's happening over there. I'm going to be a part of it. I'm going to pray for it. I'm going to speak into it. That's what black women do. You tap into it, and you don't let anybody or anything rob you of it, because people who came before you fought too hard to keep that identity, to keep that survival instinct and that survival element, because it is an element in us, in our bodies and in our spirits, that just won't die. You tap into that and you make sure that you hold on to life. And life is Yeshua, Jesus. He is the way, the truth, and the life. No one goes to the Father except by him. And he has an inheritance for us, that we will be royal priests. That's why he ordained for us to survive. That's why he ordained for us to make it, that we would be able to be a blessing to the earth, that we would purify people through the truth that we speak, because we're going to be real. That is something that's needed in the world today. We're going to be real, we're going to be beautiful, and we're going to be loving while we're doing it. That is needed. Who you are is necessary. Tap into it and don't let anybody take it away from you. I hope that blessed you, because I'm telling you, when I was on that trail, it was blessing me. I was being reminded of who I am, and I had to run here just so I could remind you of who you are. Don't let anybody lie to you. Hopefully, I'll see you again soon. I'm going to do another women's word in a minute for some of my other sisters. Blessings.